Growing up in a conservative home, my mom taught me many things. But most important, my mom taught me how to be a wife and a mother. She told me that if you're going to do a job, do it well done. That was the motto from my mom. It's a beautiful, windy day, and I have a lot of chores to do. And I'm going to take you along with me, and I hope you find some encouragement and comfort in today's video. Looking back, my mom had a hands-on approach to just about everything homemaking, but not a whole lot with cooking. She taught me how to hang wash out, taught me how to clean. She taught me how to be humble, which is something I'm always striving and learning to do. But she always was very insistent that a job be well done and that you take pride in your work. Now, I grew up in a conservative home, and there's a big difference there, and I'm going to share with you a little bit some of the differences between a conservative home and just a regular home growing up. One of the main big differences was my mom was very particular on what we were allowed to listen to. We weren't allowed to listen to certain kinds of music. I never listened to rock music, and we weren't allowed to have the TV much. Now, we did have a TV, and we watched Little House on the Prairie. I remember watching Billy Graham and his Crusades. That was always something really special. And there was always PTL. My mother and father really loved PTL back in the day, before everything else happened with them. But my mom would listen to a very conservative channel called WDAC. And that is what she played during the day on the radio. And I wasn't allowed to go to parties, certain kinds of parties. I wasn't allowed to go to any dances. I wasn't allowed to wear certain bathing suits. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things. But yet I wasn't quite as conservative that I had to always wear dresses. So we wore dresses when we went away. We wore skirts when we went to visit family members, but I wasn't allowed to wear pants. But I wasn't allowed to wear like crop shirts and things like that. I gotta hang up this wash and then work on the rest of the chores for today. My mother did a lot of physical work. She did so much. My mother knew how to build a house. My mother helped build their house when they first got married. She had no problem with a lot of physical work. Now, my daddy was happy-go-lucky, and so he wasn't quite as particular as my mother. And he would just go with the flow. But my mother was extremely organized. Everything just flowed smoothly. And being in a conservative home, it was extremely strict. So I'm going to share just this little bit, but somebody asked me to watch The Happy Shiny People, a documentary, and it's on Amazon. And I watched it, and I could relate to so much. Now, not all of it. Thankfully, my parents weren't quite as strict in that type of thinking, but they loved Bill Gothard over that time. And I can see a lot of things that happened to me that was part of their teaching. And one of them was the discipline. I watched the part of it where it talked about the discipline, and I relived that, and I had PTSD for many years about that. But thankfully, through the years, I have really overcome all of that. But as far as the woman's place in the home, that's how I was raised. My mom never would have thought of working away from home back in those years, and my mom was always home when I got home from school. My mother was almost always in the kitchen, was the big part, because she did all of her own baking, all of her own meals. My mom's meals were extremely simple, usually meat and potatoes and some form of dessert. They didn't eat salads much. Now, my mom loved salad, but my dad didn't. But everything was catered around to my father. My mother set my father's clothing out every morning before he woke up. My mother brushed my father's hair. My mother cut my father's hair. And my mother ruled all over the household. When I say ruled, it's R-U-L-E-D. Sorry if I don't pronounce my words correctly. But anyhow, she just had everything going just smoothly. And I realized where a lot of that has come from. Didn't realize it before because it was just natural life with me. That was my natural world. I didn't know that there was a name for it. And so my mom wanted to have a large family. I didn't realize that as well back in the day, but she adopted me. They both adopted me, and I was the last of the children. By then, my mom was a lot older, and I think she realized that's about all she could handle. Now, my sisters didn't follow in my footsteps. They somewhat rebelled with that type of lifestyle. And then I married into a family that was pretty much the same. And so for me, I just went from transitioning to be a child at home at 16 to be a mother, to be a wife at 17, and then a mother at 18. So I realized real quick that this was the life that I was going to live. This was the life that I wanted to live. Till this day, the books I like to read are old books from the 70s. And I love Gentle Spirit. Those are the magazines. I actually contacted Cheryl, the one who started all of it. Of course, she left that lifestyle many years ago. And she had the books on the magazines on eBay. And my husband bought them for me. I absolutely love the magazines. And I'm sure they're worth quite a pretty penny because they're very hard to find. I've always been that way. I love the Amish books and the Amish magazines, and I love Keepers of the Home. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It does not give me, it gives me comfort. Everyone, it's the end of a very long day, so you got to spend most all day with me. I end up back here putting all of the things away. I'm trying to be more organized this year, and so far so good, by putting everything away so I know what I have. So many times disorganization leads to overspending. You know, when we don't know what we have, we ended up buying it again and again and again, only to find that we already had it. So I'm trying to keep organized. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through all of my things here. I want to plant one more item. Not sure yet what I want to plant, but I have a wooden box that I like to use to plant in. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean all this stuff up, organize things a little bit better in here. Having this little screen really makes a huge difference. Stuff still gets a little dusty, but it doesn't get near as dirty as it did.